In this video, I'm going to talk about 7 things that I wish all of my cake customers knew. Hi, it's Whoa, what was that? It's Karolyn. If you want to learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes, then I would love for you to join me by hitting subscribe and the bell. So in this video, I just want to go over 7 things that, like I said, I wish all of my cake customers knew. These are questions or comments that I get all the time, and I get it. If you don't really order cakes a lot, you don't really know. Like when I go to the hair salon, it used to be, I need a cut and a color and a blow dry. And now it's, do you need balayage? Is that how you say it? Do you need a root spread or a root smudge? Do you need single process, double process? I have no idea. So sometimes it's just nice if people explain to you the process so we have a better understanding. So that is my intention with this video. And these are in no particular order. And let's start with number 1. Okay, the first thing that I wish everybody knew is to order your cake in advance. And for the most part, people are really good about this. However, I do get a lot of last minute orders. I personally prefer to have at least 10 days notice to make a cake because I start shopping 10 days before, I gather everything, I start on my decorations, I batch. When I make my cakes, I do it by, like, I don't make one cake and then start all over and make the next one, right? So if you order 2 days before it's due, there's just not enough time. So especially since the pandemic hit, I've been getting a lot of requests for last minute orders. And it's really difficult, especially if you have a lot of other cakes going on at the same time, to just stop what you're doing, start to bake a cake, fill it, ice it, get the decorations. It's just, to get a cake done in 2 days is really difficult. So make sure you order your cake at least 10 days. The more advance notice, the better. And with more advance notice, you are more likely to get a spot in my book. Okay, number 2. And I need somebody to please explain to me why people say this. And this has to do with filling in your cakes. Now, I get this so much that I had to make a little picture explaining filling, because people hear filling and they think that it's filling like a donut, and it is not. And I explained that in my email, but people still get weird. Is there something else that we can call it, like inside icing or something? Because people freak out with filling. I have had a lot of people, and I had 2 in the last week, tell me that they don't want filling in their cake. And first of all, I don't understand why. Like, where does that come from? Does anybody know? And I'm honestly asking because I don't understand where that comes from. However, filling is necessary inside the cake to help keep it structurally sound. Because if you just stack a bunch of cake layers on top of each other, there's nothing in the middle to help hold it together. And I hope this makes sense. But as you fill the cakes, then I put it back in the refrigerator, that icing is going to solidify and it's really going to hold the cake together and prevent it from shifting or collapsing. So I did it once, and I'll never do it again, where the customer was very adamant about not wanting any filling in the cake. And I thought it was so weird. It was like they're going to go cut into this cake at the party and it's just going to be a cake and it's going to fall apart on the inside because there's nothing holding it together. So what I recommend is when people say that they don't want to have any filling, that I'm just going to do a thin layer of vanilla buttercream on the inside. It's the same icing that is on the outside of the cake, and it just helps hold it together. But if you guys know, or if you prefer to not have filling in your cake, can you please let me know why? Because I'm trying to better understand why people do that. Number 3, and this is another comment that I get all the time. People saying that they hate fondant and they don't want any fondant on the cake. And I totally understand it, because I will say personally, I never eat the fondant. I don't like it. I think it's a weird chewy texture against the texture of a cake. And I just don't like eating fondant with cake. And this is what I will say. When I get this comment, I just tell people I liken fondant to kale on a dinner plate, right? If you go to a restaurant and you order a steak and they put a nice piece of kale, they put a piece of kale and a lemon and a little bit of garnish on the side of the plate just to make it look pretty, but you don't really eat it. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who do eat it, but I never eat the garnish on a plate. And that's what I say that fondant is to a cake. It is just a decoration on there that makes it look nice and pretty. However, you could just eat the cake and the icing and just leave the fondant on the plate. Now I know some kids like to eat the decorations and everything, and I make marshmallow fondant and it doesn't taste horrible. However, like, I don't know, are adults at the party like, I want to eat the number 5, and they just into the topper? I don't know. So if you prefer to not have any fondant on your cake, can you please let me know? I'm trying to better understand. Like I said before, I'm trying to understand why people say this. Yeah, so if you prefer not to have any fondant, let me know why. And is there a problem with just eating the cake and the icing and leaving the fondant on the plate? I would love to know. All right, number 4 is when people ask for a 2-tiered cake to feed 100 people. And I understand that people probably do that thinking that the number of tiers is what keeps the cost down. With me personally, I can bake, fill, ice a cake in no time. It's the decoration that takes so much time. So I get this request a lot. They say, I only want 2 tiers to feed 100. Okay. Well, if you want 2 tiers to feed 100, it's going to be short and wide, and it's going to look weird. And this is why. So I have this topper that I made for a cake this week. So if you stick a cake topper in the top of this, look how stupid this looks. There's all this extra space here. It's short, it's wide. This is my personal preference, but I just think that it looks stupid. What I recommend instead is doing 4 tiers to feed 100. This is 6, 8, 10, and 12. Now these are only 4 inches high. My cakes are usually 5 inches high, so it would be taller than this. But it just looks so much better. Or at least do 3 tiers to feed 100. The difference in the price, at least for me, is not a lot, because like I said, to bake, fill, and ice a cake, I'm really quick with it, so it does not take a lot of extra time to add another tier to a cake. And that's just my personal preference. I prefer cakes that are narrow and tall rather than short and wide. I just feel like it just doesn't look right. So do you get a lot of requests for these big cakes that are only 2 tiers? And how do you reply to your customers? I would love to know. Number 5. And this kind of goes in tandem. Is that the right word? This kind of goes with number 4 with the number of tiers. I have a lot of people who you see it online and you think that if you get a dummy cake as one of your tiers, this is an 8-inch dummy cake, okay? And people think that I just want a cake that feeds 15 to 20, but I want it to be 3 tiers. Can you do a dummy tier on the bottom? And this is what I will say about this. Does it cut down on the time of baking, filling, and icing? Yes, it does. However, to buy one of these dummy tiers, I found an 8-inch one on Amazon. It is this is probably loud with the microphone. I found one on Amazon and it is like $11.50 to $12. So to purchase one of those dummy tiers costs 3 times as more than just getting the ingredients. Yes, I do save time baking, filling, and icing the cake, but it's not that much to make a difference. And I still have to cover the cake in fondant and decorate it just like I would do a normal cake. So the savings really is not a big difference. It might be a slight savings, $25 maybe. So most of the time when I am quoting a dummy cake tier versus a real cake, the difference is not that much, and people just end up going with the regular cake instead. Do you agree with me? Do you think the same thing? Or do you find that it is cheaper and takes a lot less time for you to do dummy tiers? Okay, number 6. And I feel like this is an old school way of thinking about cakes, but I feel like we don't have to write long messages on these beautiful custom tiered cakes. Back in the day when sheet cakes were really popular, that's where you would write, "Happy 30th birthday, I hope you have a wonderful year," right? But I just feel like a nice custom cake doesn't need to have a message on it. Can you have a name on it? Yes, I do a name and an age, or maybe I do a little banner that just says happy birthday. But a lot of times I get requests that just say, "Can you please write happy birthday, Amy, we love you?" And does the cake have to have a message on it? Like, don't we know that we love Amy? Like, does the cake have to say it? Like, we could tell her. I just try, when people order this, I just try to let them know, like, the cake, I can put it on there. However, it may not flow with the design, it may not look right, and let them know different things I can do instead, like doing the name really nice, having the age on there, maybe a little happy birthday sign, but to write a whole message on the side of the cake, I just feel like it ruins it. Does anybody else agree? And last but not least, number 7, and this has to do with driving with your cake. You don't know how many times people come to pick up cakes, especially in the warmer months. They have all the windows down, they don't have the air conditioning on, and you're taking a cake that is iced with icing that is made with butter and expecting that it is going to be okay. And it stresses me out. When I see somebody take this cake that I worked on for so long and put it in a warm car and just say it's going to be fine. So I try to let people know in my emails and my original messages and conversations with them that you must have the air conditioning on. You must have a flat surface for the cake to sit on. A lot of people want to put it on the seat. The front of the seat is here, and the back of the seat where your butt goes is lower. So if you put a cake on a seat like this, it's going to sit on a slant, and then there's just a chance that it could get messed up. So I try to let people know it has to have a flat surface, it has to be in a cool environment, and I always offer delivery just so we don't have to worry about them messing up the cake in transport. Now, not everybody gets delivery, but it is something that I do offer, and I've said before in my other videos, delivery is a $25 flat rate plus $2.25 one way, and I only do one way because I don't want to do two. Like, I'm charging a higher dollar per mile one way rather than a lower per mile two ways. It's just less math. I could either do $2 one way or $1 each way, and it's going to end up being the same thing. And then I add tolls on there. So it is a little high, but it makes it worth my time, and it is peace of mind for the customer if they just get the cake delivered. So I think that's it. Do you guys have any other questions or comments that you get from customers on a consistent basis that you would wish for the world to know? If you do, just comment below and let me know, and we can start a little discussion. You can keep in touch on social media and check out my website, and it's listed in the description below as well. And if you want to stick around, you can watch these 2 videos next and hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Please like this video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. And remember, it's cake. Have fun. I will see you on the next one. Bye. What was this? Bye.